they send listing agreements for each property that's just a 1-page. Here you go. They wanted everything. I said, no, I'm not giving you my proprietary information. I don't have to give you that. Well, we're not putting it back in. It's like, you work for me.
That was my, I'm sorry. That was going to be my question is, who do these people work for? Because I thought they worked for you, but apparently they don't seem to understand that.
Well, there's like 60, I think 6,300 agents in the Pikes Peak region. So they're all paying whatever it is, $70 a month plus whatever, and so that's how they make their money. They don't care if you have listings or not.
As long as you're paying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a membership thing. And then they try to make everybody the same. And I'm like, well, I'm not the same as anybody.
Yeah. That's an understatement.
I mean, you have to follow the rules. I'm like, you guys make up your rules on the fly. And it's usually about something I did. No, we don't. I said, yes, you do. I said, I still have not forgotten the day you dumped all of my listings on a Thursday afternoon with no notice because some random agent that was supposed to be working for me didn't pay his dues. No warning. We're just going to cancel all your listings. And I lost a sale because of it. It cost me probably $12,000.
Whoa. I mean, a lot of times things are a little bit more nebulous and it's hard to assign a value, but $12,000 is a value.
Yeah, and she was the one that did it. She turned the switch off. She knows because I got in her face. I said, I still haven't gotten over that, and I never will. I said, you guys treat me differently than everybody else. No, we don't. I said, yes, you do. I got proof. I showed up with the receipts on disparate treatment, and you still blew me off. Before I leave this career, I'm gonna make an impact. Actually, I think the best thing that could happen is if the little local fiefdom MLSs went away and it became a truly free market society, which it's not right now. So
some of these people would probably lose their livelihood if that happened, or they would actually have to work for a livelihood if that happened, which I'm not so convinced that a lot of them are doing that right now.
Well, I think technology is going to take over. I think it's going to eat their lunch one day. And Zillow is right there. They're really close to making that happen. As much as I dislike some of what they do, they got the hearts and minds of the buyers. So most of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. I mean, it's amazing to me. Despite listening to you all of the time, there is so much that I just don't know, and it's one of the things that I think is a huge strength of yours that I try to convey to other people is, so much more than somebody who got their license a year ago or 2 or 3 years ago. And it's on every different level. And I probably, listening to this program, I wouldn't know as much filling out the paperwork and doing some of those things, but the bigger picture things, I think I got a pretty good handle on those just from listening to you.
Thank you. Aren't you hot? You got a
Me?
winter coat on.
Oh, I just had, I have a shirt on, but I had a jacket on before. So I had the collar buttoned up because I'm told that if I leave the second button undone, that it looks too casual. So no, it's just a brown shirt, and then I put a brown sport coat on top of it.
Oh.
Am I the only person who wears a tie around here?
I have ties. Does, does that count? I mean, I'm trying to think, DJ. I'm not so sure there's anybody else who works here who wears a tie. There has to be Scott or somebody, but I don't remember seeing
Scott
them.
hasn't worn one since COVID.
I was going to
Aren't
say,
they uncomfortable? Don't they choke you? Ties.
she's asking,
Oh,
don't
there
they?
you go.
And the answer
Look
is
at
yeah.
you, David. Looking all professional.
The answer is absolutely they do. And so the best I normally, I mean, when I was in court, I'd have it up in trials and stuff like that, or meeting a new client or whatever. But generally, of course, I had a tie on, 5 days a week. But usually when I get back to the office, I would loosen it up and unbutton the button and roll my sleeves up. And I always considered that me looking like I was going to work,
I
rolling
think
those
Ryan
sleeves up.
does occasionally.
Oh, he does, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
In all fairness.
Yeah, just give me 1 second here. I always lose the exact tab where I have the best clock on.
Do you need to lower that so you can see her? Or?
No, I'm good like this. I mean, if it needs to come down, I can bring it down if that makes much of a difference. Seriously, what the hell?
I just know when I'm recording, I like to look people in the eye.
Yeah, I can see her over the top of this. Actually, right. Well, you know what? I'll just use my phone. I'm good to go whenever you're ready, Barb.
I'm ready.
All right.
Ready as I can get.
That sounds more like a warning than anything else. All right. I will count this down in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb's also an author. Barb's a pilot as well, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or go ahead and search for it on podcast platforms like iHeartRadio, Spotify, etc. Every week, Your Real Estate Voice covers great information about the housing market and one of most people's largest assets, that's their home. So, Barb, what are we covering today?
Well, the first topic is about prices and what's going on with the Colorado housing market in general. I'm watching a whole bunch of different podcasts, YouTube, articles on the Wall Street Journal, all these different people looking at stats. And the obvious question is, are the prices dropping here in Colorado? So we're going to kind of deep dive into that and discuss what's going on with pricing, what's going on with market values, and how you can really succeed in any market. And then the next topic I'd like to cover is basically a question that I get oftentimes when I receive offers for my clients. A lot of them want to know if they've gotten an offer, is that the best we can do? Right. Now, if you have multiple offers, that's great. You should be doing the happy dance. But in the case of if you just have one offer, the fear is, well, what if they back out? What if this? What if that? So the question really is, can I still show my house? Can I still look at offers after I accept an offer? So we're going to deep dive into that and what that means for a home seller. And I'll tell you a couple stories that might make it make sense a little bit more. And then the third topic is, how do you choose the best realtor to sell your house? Now, everybody tends to pick an agent that maybe sold them the house. There's overall not a whole lot of set criteria for most home sellers into making a decision as to who's the one that's going to handle one of their largest assets. So we've got some tools that we can let our clients or our listeners listen to. Let me say that again. we've got some tools that we can let our listeners download from my website that can help you make some good decisions about who is the best fit for you to handle one of your largest assets. And then the last question I get a lot is about really selling your home to an investor. Is that the right choice or the wrong choice for you? Everybody has different motivations about when they want to sell, why they want to sell, how they want to sell. So we're going to talk about some reasons why people would sell to an investor and maybe take a little bit less than what the full open market would command, and the whole strategy behind that. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, with interest rates being pretty much the same in the last few months and more homes on the market, how does a home seller get the most money when they sell a house in today's real estate market?
Well, it starts really with pricing it correctly. And you have to have somebody that really understands that market. What does your competition look like? Who is the most likely buyer for that home? And so what's going on in the market right now is that just all of a sudden this year, we've had another big surge in the number of available homes for sale. And at the same time, the number of buyers going under contract for homes is about the same as what it was for the past 2 years. So 1 year ago, number of available homes popped up 25%. Here we are a year later, number of available homes popped up another 25%, yet the sales are the same. So it's just a supply and demand equation where there's more supply and yet the same demand. Really, the result is most likely going to be a downward pressure on pricing. And as a result, even some of the experts out there in the industry say that home prices could decline slightly, but I don't think it's going to be a big crash. I don't think the buyers sitting on the sideline should hold their breath and wait for market prices to drop like an elevator, because I just don't see that happening. When I looked at the statistics about the number, excuse me, the number of people moving into the state as compared to the number of people moving out of the state, that was really interesting. I looked at it nationwide. It's a really cool statistical thing that's put up by Realtor.com. And basically, it showed us that places like Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, some of the New England states are pretty even, the number of people moving in, moving out. The people that are gaining population are Florida, North and South Carolina, Tennessee, Arizona, Idaho, even Maine. So we're seeing some improvements in those locations as far as people moving to those states. Colorado has been relatively even. And I think a lot, even though it's a beautiful place to live, I would think there'd be a lot more people that want to move here, but the prices are pretty high. That's one issue. So right now we're showing that there's about a 4-month supply of homes, meaning if we looked at the homes on the market right now, which are over 4,000 homes in the Pikes Peak region, and I think Denver obviously has more, and you just stopped at that point, didn't add any more, it would take 4 months to sell them all. So that's still good. That's not quite a buyer's market, but it's getting there. But the thing that I like to look at is predictive data. So I have this software that I use that basically compares the number of pending sales to the number of homes. Let me say that again. That compares the number of pending sales to the prices of those pending sales as compared to what the median prices for homes on the market right now. And the big surprise to me when I looked at that data was that basically it's still kind of a slight seller's advantage. The prices have dropped about $7,000 on average in the Pikes Peak region since July. The median price is $555. However, the median price of the homes getting contracts is 523. So that's about 6% less than similar homes on the market. So still, I think people are just reaching too far in their price. And what I'm finding in my own business is that typically the days on market are going longer. There are few showings right now, fewer showings than I've seen in quite a long time. The number of home sellers that are dropping their price continues to rise. Just a few months ago, it was in the 40s, maybe 43%. Now it's at 54% of the people that go on the market look backwards at similar sales and said, my house is worth X. And if they didn't price it very realistically, guess what? More than half of them are lowering their price. So if you do catch a buyer, don't let them get away. It's one of those kind of markets where, you can't sit around and just expect a bidding war to be around the corner, because it's not that kind of market right now. And many times the buyers are actually coming in and either asking for a reduced price or the seller to pay their loan closing costs, which could cost quite a bit of money. I was just talking to one of my colleagues yesterday, and the agents at his company are working in Southern Florida, basically. And they're going out and actually getting the seller. They're finding people that have been on the market for a long time and coming in with full price offers, but asking the seller to offer up as much as 6% in concessions. And they're getting acceptances on that. They're getting sellers to agree to it. So that's the kind of market we're in, I think, right now. If you see that more than half the home sellers are lowering their price, it's either lower your price or look at a concession, one or the other. And the reason why they're getting concessions is, especially with a VA loan, the VA loan includes in their closing costs things like the VA funding fee, which is a form of mortgage insurance, costs anywhere from 2.4 to 3.5% of the loan amount. And they're also asking for extra closing costs to buy down their interest rate. So they're able to get their buyers into these houses at a mortgage rate in the upper 4s and low 5s, which is amazing. But at the end of the day, putting your home on the market, the way you win is you have to be the best home at the best price. That's the way you get the most money. I don't care what kind of market it is. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the most beautiful home either. I just sold one in Briargate just a month ago where they got 20,000 over asking price. The home definitely needed a lot of work, but they priced it right to command top dollar, and it worked out very well. So the rates, they're kind of about the same as they were a week ago. Conventional 6.58%, and the VA and FHA loans are in the low 6s right now. So overall, the market is kind of teetering on a buyer's market, but not quite there just yet. So what that means is buyers have more choices. They're asking for concessions, and you'll actually get the most attention for your home if you actually go onto the market at the right price. That's the way you catch a good buyer. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about whether or not Colorado home prices are dropping, and I think they are just slightly. And next up, we'll talk about a few tips to get you the most money when you sell. Richard?
Now, Barb, we're discussing whether or not Colorado home prices are dropping. What can home sellers do in this competitive market to get their home sold in a reasonable time and for the most money?
Well, the days of bidding wars are pretty much over unless you're underpriced. So expect buyers to be picky, really nitpicky, surprisingly nitpicky. Like, the carpet needed to be replaced in the basement. It's like, really? It's maybe $1,000 if you can't. I think part of the problem, Richard, is some of the agents are not really trained on how to handle objections, right? There's no training out there for the industry. So if they're out there with a buyer and the buyer says, oh, I love the house, but the carpet in the basement needs to be replaced, we're talking a few $1,000s. They should be able to overcome that objection. We know how to do it, but they don't. So they just move on and go show them another house. It's crazy. So I think at the end of the day, if you're going to be premium priced at the top of the price point, everything has to be perfect. And if not, then everything has to be priced just right. And we know how to do that. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900. We have over 28,244 buyers just on our little website. Typically, we can match about 800 buyers to your home, and we will definitely market to those buyers to try to get them interested in taking a look at your home. So give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, sorry, just a second, Barb. All right. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we'll be discussing, can a seller show their house after they accepted an offer? Barb will give us the answer and explain it. Stay tuned. I thought that was, I have to say, when I first saw that, I'm like, okay, dang, I'll bet nobody else in real estate is talking about that, much less even knows the answer. And that's what sets you, I mean, that's what sets you apart.
PJ, did that go too long? I forgot to turn my clock on until about a minute in.
You know you're fine.
Thank you. All right, moving on.
All right. Let's see. Segment 2. I'm ready.
Give me
You know
just
what?
a
That's a good
sec.
idea, Barb. Let me take a sip here.
Yes, please. Say one. There we go.
I'll count us down. I'll count us down. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most people worry about leaving money on the table when they're accepting an offer. Can they still show their home and look at other offers after accepting a contract?
Well, absolutely, Richard. And I get that question all the time when I'm presenting offers to my seller. Like they're kind of looking over their shoulder, sort of like, well, okay, I've got this offer, but how do I know that this is the right offer? And what if they back out? Or how do I know if I wait another week or two that I won't get more money? And you don't. I mean, nobody can really predict the future, but you just have to make a decision based on that offer at that time. And I will tell you, it's really frustrating for sellers because when you accept an offer, we have all these really dumb rules that are associated with our national association and our state association and the MLSs, where we have to tell the world that it's under contract. So what does that do? That creates demand destruction. In other words, most buyers don't want to waste their time chasing after homes that are not available. I mean, it's logical, right? Now, occasionally, if the property is red hot, high demand, I have a few of those right now where no matter what happens, the phone is always ringing or they're making inquiries through email about these properties. Even the agents are calling when they know full well it's not available. I don't know why, but at the end of the day, a seller can accept a contract at any time. But the first buyer that they accepted, if they still have a valid contract, it's like a business agreement. You can't, if 2 weeks later, another offer comes along that might be even 100,000 more, we as agents, we are obligated to present it. And the seller could accept it as a quote backup offer. But until contract number 1 is defeated, you can't take out and get rid of buyer number 1 just because you got a better offer a week or two later. And the way that the contract system is set up, because we're telling the world that it's under contract, many of the buyers are going to stop looking at it. And the other thing that's kind of strange is that the way the contracts are designed in the state of Colorado, the buyer could tie up a property for a month or two and still walk away and still most of the time get their deposit back. No harm, no foul. Yet the sellers had their house effectively off the market all that time. So it's really important on who you hire to handle the sale, because there's some people that know how to keep that fuel burning and keep the buyers calling about the property, and there's some that do not. And at the end of the day, most home sellers really want to know for sure that the deal is going to go through, right? They want to know that, okay, I've got the house sold. Okay, I can plan my move. It's a very big project to move a household. It's not like, you know, swapping a car or something. And they want to know that they're going to be able to get to their destination as planned. And sometimes things fall apart. I've recently had one fall apart 4 days before closing. The buyer just walked away. At least I had protected the seller to keep the earnest money. I'd done that much. But still, it was off the market for 6 weeks, waiting. And then essentially the buyer just changed their mind and they made up some lame excuse as to why they couldn't close, which was crazy. But anyway, we have obligations as agents to present all offers, no matter what happens. So, you know, the question is, how does a home seller really know that the sale is going to go through for sure? And I can kind of illustrate this story by sharing with you. I met with a seller a couple years ago. This is really fun. He was an ex-Marine infantry officer, really kind of tough and gruff guy. And when we sat down to discuss pricing, I could tell he wasn't really excited about the number I proposed he priced the home, but he did do it that way. We did get a huge crowd looking at the home. And then when it was time to sit down with the offers, I was so proud of myself because I had 6 offers to present to him. I mean, if you're in a position where you have multiple offers, you're absolutely in the catbird seat. It's a great time, right? And that's what I said to him. I said, "Hey, isn't this fun? I've got all these offers to present to you." And he goes, "No." I said, "What do you mean no?" And he goes, "I told you, Barb, to get me the most money. What are you going to do about it?" So I executed one of my strategies. I got the top 2 buyers to bid against each other, and I was able to squeeze some more money out of the sale. But one of the questions was, the 2 buyers were bidding over each other. One was cash, the other was getting financing. The problem with financing was that buyer had to do, after both buyers would do an inspection, but after that, there's an appraisal. There's a third-party opinion of whether or not the buyer is paying the price that's consistent with market value. And the problem was the higher number, we could not substantiate a number that was 41,000 higher than any kind of close similar sale. And so it put the whole situation in doubt that through the process, 3 weeks in, where they're already packed up and ready to move, the deal could fall apart, or the appraiser could say, no, it's not worth that much. And the buyer would walk the price back, and then they'd be disappointed, and they might even have to start over with a new buyer. So when I explained how that works and how the process, you accept an offer, then you order title, then they do an inspection, then they ask for stuff, then they do an appraisal, then they do the final clear to close. So you really don't know for sure if the deal is firm in that scenario until about 3 to 7 days before closing. And so he looked at me and goes, "Seems to me it's kind of like wallowing around in the mud and then it's over. Is that right?" I said, "Pretty much. That's exactly it." And so he opted for the cash offer, even though that offer was 41,000 less than the other offer. He knew he wanted certainty because they didn't want to tear down their house and be in the process of moving and have the rug pulled out from under them. So, you know, at the end of the day, the seller makes a decision. And once you do make a decision, we actually have to put the status in the multiple listing service about whether or not the seller has accepted an offer. That was done to support agents, not sellers. Okay. So even though the seller has accepted an offer, that doesn't mean they can't consider another offer as a backup offer, right? So if we change the status, either contingent on a home sale or contingent on financing, it tells the whole world that the home is not available. That's what the buyer thinks. That home's not available. I'm going to move on and not look at that one. So all it does is save agents time from showing properties that have contracts. That's all it does. It doesn't help the seller, because what if the deal blows up later in the process, right? They don't have anybody as a backup because the multiple listing service mandated this thing to support real estate agents and not our customers. That's the kind of thing that I'm dealing with all the time, but I have a way around it, the way I market. And actually, I had something like this happen once before, Richard. It was back when the market was a bit hotter. And the seller started showing, they really didn't want to deal with showings very long. So the first offer that came along happened to be way higher than the asking price. Even though they felt like there could be some uncertainty with that buyer, they accepted the offer. Well, that was like day one. And there was another showing right behind them that saw the house and said, oh my God, we love this home. Can we put in a backup offer? So they did. Their backup offer was also higher than asking price, but not quite as high, right? So time marches on. For some odd reason, the buyer didn't do an inspection. And actually what happened is the agent defrauded the seller. I even called the lender. It's not like I'm not doing my due diligence. I called the lender and said, hey, does this buyer need to sell a house to buy this home? Absolutely not. They're all good. Everything's fine, right? 3 weeks into it, I get an email from that agent going, well, our sale blew up. Our sale of our house, which he didn't make his contract contingent on that sale, fell apart. And unless you extend my deal, we're going to terminate. Well, we had our backup offer in place. So the seller's answer to that was, that's not my problem. Bye-bye. So by some miracle, the backup buyer had not yet gotten a contract on another home. And that was the home they really wanted. So when I called the agent and said, guess what? You are now the buyer of this home. Because you had a backup contract. They were so excited. They were so happy because that was the one that they wanted in the first place. So it all worked out. But there are some agents that don't really paint a true picture. And I have to do my best and hope that people aren't lying to us about what is the strategy. Are they really trying to buy this home without having to sell a home? Are they giving me the full picture? In that case, it did not happen, but it worked out just fine. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And we're talking about basically, can a home seller keep showing their home after they accept a contract? And I say, absolutely, yes. It's my job to get you a buyer and get you to the finish line. And I have ways of doing that go around all these crazy rules. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some other solutions to move to your next home hassle-free. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, we've gone from nearly all homes selling for a premium price to homes sitting longer on the market, and in fact, some homes not selling at all. How do you give your home sellers certainty when it comes to a sale?
Well, the way we do it, Richard, is we show up at any appointment with a handful of offers on their home already. We're coming out of the gate with offers because that's what the sellers want. They don't want to make their house pretty. They don't necessarily want to deal with showings and all that other stuff. They want a buyer, right? So we show up with buyers. That's how we do it. Most agents don't do it that way, but we do have solutions to make that transition because most people, if they're selling a home, they need their resources out of the sale to buy their next home. So we actually have a couple of investors that will come in and provide them funds of their equity up front so they can buy their next home without a bridge loan. It's really, really interesting. Plus, we tap into our buyers in waiting. Plus, we show up with offers. So if you are thinking of making a move and you want that certainty of a sale without worrying about the deal falling apart, give us a call. We do this all the time, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
All right. I got caught off guard. I'm on the wrong page here, but I just looked at the time. I'm sorry. I didn't have my clock started. So
I just kind of cut a lot of it out of it.
that's okay. I should, and normally I'm going from page to page to page, and I was trying to get my clock figured out, and that's where I got caught at.
Off script. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We just pick it up at, and we're done based on my clock. We're done here, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. What's that? Yes. 3, 2, 1. Barb will take care of you. Take my word on it. I'm Richard Randall, and I've been recommending Barb for years because she is not only your real estate voice, but the most experienced expert when it comes to buying or selling homes. You're listening to your real estate voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to choose the best realtor when you sell your home. Stay tuned for that. I apologize. You know, that segment I always get screwed up on because the way it's I take that back.
I cut off a lot of the
Well,
content.
that's okay. Well, I normally should be on top of that. Like I said, I got caught trying to normally I have a big clock up on my computer screen, and I've gotten used to that. So in the old days, I used to use the clock on my phone. Well, I couldn't find the program that I was using on the computer screen. So I went to my clock, except I didn't start it. So I was trying to somehow backtrack and figure out what the heck.
I've done that before.
It didn't work out so well. All right, let me get a new clock here. What's that? Oh. I'm ready to go here. Barbie, good?
I'm good.
All right. I count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, we're back, Barb. You know that I've recommended you and your team for years, but many people put very little planning or thought into picking a real estate agent to handle one of their very largest assets. In many cases, that and a 401k, two biggest assets people have got. You should spend time, make sure you get exactly the right person. So, Barb, how do home sellers choose the best realtor when they're selling their home and they want to get the very most out of it?
Well, not all real estate agents are the same. I love listening to the stories about people's experiences, and it's kind of sad, but the industry is really not dialed into doing the things or training the agents to be what the public expects them to know, which is things like how to on pricing, how to on marketing, how to on negotiating, how to on closing. I'll give you an example. I just got feedback on my listing. Oh, they loved it, but we're still looking. I'm like, what do you mean? If they loved it, then you stop the showing and you go back to the office and you write an offer. You don't go look at more homes, but I don't know. It's it's insane to me what goes on in the industry. And over the years, I've been doing this since 1996. It has not changed. It's really kind of sad. And so it really can hurt home sellers if they pick the wrong agent. It can cost them money. It could cost them time on the market. And really, a lot of people just have no idea what questions to ask. According to studies that are done every year by the National Association of Realtors, most home sellers only speak to one agent before they put their home on the market. Many times it's the agent that sold them the home. Yet 81% of agents sell 3 or less homes a year. Half of them don't sell any. So I looked at the numbers. There's probably over 1,000 sales in the Pikes Peak region for the past 7 months, essentially through July. Yet there's 6,300 agents. That means that if all things were even and the agents only had one sale in 1 month, which is, it's not that way in my world, 1 out of 5 agents are selling. It's actually less than that, because we sell way more than 1 house a month. So it's just interesting to me that people don't put any thought into it. And I can really tell sometimes when I get calls from people that are currently on the market and they're stuck and they can't sell, but they want to stick with their agent. They want me to solve their problem, but they want to keep their agent. I'm like, I can't really do that if you're under contract with another agent. So most of the agents suggest a pricing that doesn't match the market, or they have marketing problems. I've seen that many times when I flip through the pictures and I go, oh, that's an easy fix. How come they don't see that? Or there's a whole bunch of agents that work part-time. I just had one agent blow up a deal. She asked for repairs after seeing the dozens of people at the open house, after seeing that we brought through a backup cash buyer into the home while they were there for the inspection. And then they went on to ask for stuff. So there's 2 ways that a buyer can get themselves out of contract once they're in contract. One is asking for repairs, okay, in which the seller can say, yep, you're gone. Number 2 is if the appraisal doesn't come in at the agreed upon sales price and the buyer asks for a lower price, the seller does not have to agree with it, and boom, the contract could fail. However, in both of those cases, it's in the buyer court to withdraw those and say, never mind, we're going to proceed as contracted, right? So it really is all in the buyer's court. And this agent really wasn't paying attention. She had no idea, even though we showed it to her, how much demand there was for that home. So she comes in and asks for all these stupid repairs. In fact, 2 of the requests were for things that she didn't have the data on yet. Oh, in case there's a problem with the sewer line, the seller will fix it. But we don't know yet because we don't have the report back. And she had plenty of time to do her inspection. So when she asked for stuff at the deadline, basically, the seller's like, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. So boom, there's no agreement. The contract failed that night because the agent was just assuming that everything was hunky-dory and she was friends with the seller, but the seller's like, no, I'm not playing that game. So the contract fell apart on the inspection phase. And now her buyer is exposed, who'd spent money on inspection and probably appraisal. And her buyer is like, you just put me out of contract. And years ago, I learned this the hard way, where, not the hard way, it was actually the easy way. Well, let me say that again. Years ago, I kind of got to learn the easy way about this inspection clause. So basically, the way the contract is designed, the buyer says they have a contract. Okay, we'll take the house at this price. Great. They go do an inspection. Then the inspector says, this has to be fixed. This has to be fixed. The buyer asks for stuff, but it's negotiable. So if the buyer and seller don't reach agreement on that deadline, the contract automatically terminates and the buyer gets their earnest money and the house goes back on the market. So let's say the seller took a backup offer. That can definitely happen in a high demand property. And it was happening in this case. buyer comes in all fat, dumb, and happy, thinking everything's fine, asking for a long laundry list of repairs. And the seller's like, no. And guess what? The deal blew up that night. She got her buyer out of contract. But I had somebody call me is years ago when this rule changed in the contract. And it was somebody else's client, and he had done that. He'd asked for a long laundry list of things. The seller had a backup offer, and he had no idea, right? And so buyer number 2 that had the backup offer at midnight got that house. And he told me, he goes, had I known that, I would have withdrawn my objection and bought the home. But he didn't know. His agent obviously didn't know. And those are some of the things that are really, really important. And a lot of times these agents are so lazy, they hire what they call a transaction coordinator to track their deadlines. This is a third-party person that doesn't have a license, that doesn't have any responsibility whatsoever. They're supposed to do the paperwork. So all the agent has to do is open a door, fill in a 10-minute contract form, and then abdicate their contractual responsibility to some unlicensed person and collect their check at closing. That's what they do. In fact, they usually will send their transaction coordinator to me to ask me questions to get their stuff done so that, hopefully it'll work out right. But I have seen those transaction coordinators miss deadlines and really open the door for the buyer to lose the house. And I don't know why. And what they try to do is make me the admin assistant of the transaction coordinator. And I say, no, I'm not going to be your admin's assistant. That ain't happening. You look in the software, we provide the documentation when we can, period. So it's really frustrating for me because some of these agents don't really want to do the work. A lot of them have other jobs. You wouldn't believe how many requests and phone calls and real estate emergencies I get after business hours. Just last weekend, 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday night, somebody woke me up at 6 p.m. I dozed off because usually I'll have like one half day where I'm tired. I don't want to work anymore during the weekend. And I figure that's an okay time to rest. Wouldn't you think, Richard? Does anybody call you at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday night?
Not if they don't want to get yelled at or ignored, or unless it's a really close friend or family and there's kind of a crisis. No, not really.
Right. It's always a real estate emergency. It's always real estate agents. It's rarely customers that are calling late at night off business hours. Oh my God, I got a deadline. Oh my God, I forgot to schedule the inspection. Oh my God, what about that house that's under contract? My buyer's interested. I'm like, why are you calling me at 6 o'clock on a Saturday night asking me about a home that the public record shows is not available? Why are you doing that? That is how they spend their time. And I think it's partly because they have other jobs, right? So when they finally get a maybe customer, oh my God, it's an emergency. And they have no respect for other people's time that do this for a living as a career.
Of course, Barb, that makes all the sense in the world, except the only thing you do is real estate. And that's all you've done full time for a long, long time. This isn't a hobby. It's not right out of getting your real estate license. And we'll see how things go. I'll work out of a bedroom office.
Right. I can't do anything about it. Right. But and I have to answer the phone. And this day and age, you can't say, oh, it's a 719 area code. I'll answer it. If it's some other area code, I won't. You never know. That could be a real estate agent. It could be a buyer. I have to answer the phone. So I just don't like that, that they don't respect your time and everything. They have to have a right now answer. And so I'm going to start, I watched some other agents in the past that were working more volume than most agents like I do. And they just put parameters in. They put it in the MLS to say after 6 p.m. on a Friday night, all offers, everything will be handled the next business day, which makes perfect sense. The only problem is agents don't read the MLS. They don't read even the showing instructions that come directly to their phone. They have no idea. They don't even know if the home is priced aggressively. I mean, it's so frustrating for me, but I have to try to bite my tongue and be kind. And all that. The other issue that we see a lot, especially if more than half of the home sellers are lowering their price, that tells me they're having a pricing problem out of the gate. Now, it could be the agent, and I've had sellers tell me, well, the agent said I should price it at this price, right? Is the agent making the decision, not the seller? And are they really using good data? I just pulled up a random address, somebody I met with a couple years ago, just to see what Realtor.com said their automated value price range was. And it was different by anywhere from $40,000 to $80,000, 3 different automated values. So you can't go off of that. You can't even go by similar sales. You have to really look at the current future data as best you can, and not everybody does it. So one of the tools that we offer for our home sellers to really pick the best agent to handle one of their largest assets, on our website, barbhasthebuyers.com, if you click on that green button on free reports, you can actually download the request to get a report called the 10 questions to ask before you hire an agent. It's actually a 3-part thing, and it will give you all kinds of information to help you decide what are the best agent selection factors, what are some questions that you should ask an agent, and all those things. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And if you are thinking of making a move, we'd love to be one of those agents that you talk to. Just give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
So we're talking, Barb, about giving the audience information that they can use to find the very best agent to sell their home. What are some other questions that a home seller should be asking when they're hiring somebody to sell their home?
Well, here's some that make most agents feel uncomfortable. One of them is, how many homes do you sell a year? How many do you sell a month? That really makes them nervous. How many have you sold in my area? Those are tough questions for most agents. Even statistics like, what's your average days on the market? What's your average list price to sales price? If they don't know that off the top of their head, they have no idea. I would move on and look around, because at the end of the day, if they're not selling a lot of homes, I think Zillow has some data about the sales. It may not be 100% accurate, but you don't know. Most people have a hard time. The public has a hard time finding that data. So ask them that question. If they are not totally comfortable with the answer, I would keep looking. That's just my suggestion, but you can work with anybody you feel comfortable with. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb Schlinker is the only agent that I would recommend or trust when it comes to making a decision about making that move. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, of course, host of the program and owner proprietor of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing whether or not it's worth it to sell your home to an investor, plus Barb's hot new listings. Don't miss those.
Did I make fun of agents too much?
No, no, no. I kind of get it, because look, my son, some of the people that coached him in baseball are teachers. And one of the things it seems like somewhere along the line started happening was that they decided, well, I can get into real estate and I'll have time to do that in between. And it's exactly what you're talking about. And these are nice people. I mean, it's not that they're like evil people or whatever, but if I had the biggest investment of my life, am I going to give it to this person that I know as a really good catching coach? And he's a great guy. And he actually does have his license. He got it like a year ago. How many homes has he sold? 2, one for his parents and one for, his brother or something like that. You don't want somebody learning how to do this on your home.
No. I mean, if you're buying a home, it's kind of a different story. It's more like shopping on steroids, That's a little bit more manageable, but I think on the sales part, it takes, especially right now when the market's cooling off a little bit, you really need somebody that knows what they're doing.
again, I mean, when you started advertising and, pointing out to people that this is the biggest investment in their life, I don't know. I don't think you can say it too often because people, I think they take for granted that, yeah, well, hold on. Yeah, I've got some money in a 401k or, some stocks over here. But for most people, it truly is the biggest investment of their entire life.
Yeah, I mean, you're making big payments every month for that
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely. Yep. Okay. Let me get a new clock going here. And I'm ready. Barb, you good?
Ready.
David's ready. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. This is the weekly radio show. I don't like that. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, with the real estate market cooling off, many home sellers don't want to wait months to sell their homes or worry about their contracts failing for a number of different reasons. Would it be worth it to sell their home to an investor to expedite the sale?
Well, Richard, I'm seeing more and more home sellers opting for just that because they want that certainty. With the market being softer than it's been, even in the summer, usually the summer is just roaring. But right now, we've got 25% more inventory, more choices. There's more than half the sellers lowering their price. And buyers are coming out to buy, but it's not a huge surge right now. It's about the same as it's been for the last couple of years. And according to Realtor.com, just on a national basis, over 13% of home sellers are actually opting to sell their home to an investor rather than do the traditional sales process. What do I mean by that? What is an investor? What do they do? What makes them different than a buyer that's going to move into the house and stay? I think the only difference is a majority of them are going to resell the home. They're going to buy it. Maybe they'll increase the price and turn around and resell it. Those are called flippers. However, there are some investors where it's almost like you're partnering with one of those investors and they actually come in and pay for the improvements and you get to participate on the upside. And those investors will really pay full market value for the home. And it's really interesting to see those kind of deals. So that's part of what we do is we sit down with our home sellers right out of the gate and we'll have offers. We'll actually have offers for them where they get to decide which is the best offer for them, or maybe they want to roll the dice and put it on the open market and hope that they get more. At the end of the day, it's up to them, right? And I just myself, I sold one of the properties that we had a little condo on the west side last year, and I sold it to an investor, and the price that they came in at was pretty darn close to market value, actually. The reason I sold was that the HOA dues were too high. I loved the property. It was a great rental, but the HOA dues just kept, they weren't just slightly going up. They were like doubling every year. And I'm like, okay, there's obviously no end to this. It's going to keep going. And it just wasn't a good investment for us anymore. So, but the experience was great. Some of these investors can close in 2 to 3 weeks, all cash, no appraisal. They're in the house for anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour and a half, and you get paid in a few weeks, which is really wonderful. Don't have to deal with buyers and crazy inspections and the worry of the deal falling out. So I did a little bit of research about where somebody asked me this question today, and I thought it was kind of cool. Where are the buyers coming from that are looking for homes in Colorado? And that was kind of a surprise to me. More than 41% of the people looking at Colorado homes are coming from out of state. And then another almost 30% are in state. There's a whole bunch of people coming down from Denver to the Colorado Springs market or other areas of Colorado. And then there's another 30, 25% that are looking right here in town. Like they're either moving up to a different kind of home. I spoke with one seller yesterday where her husband wants acreage and more garage. So they're going to make the in-town transition from one house to another. But the biggest number of all of these of where the buyers are coming from, believe it or not, Richard, is Arizona. Isn't that a surprise?
I expected to hear California 100%. I am surprised at Arizona.
Yeah. But I think this time of year, it gets really hot there and people can't take it anymore. Our summers are pretty spectacular. But at the end of the day, most home sellers really don't like the uncertainty of worrying about not just getting a contract. That's step number one. Once you get a contract, then they're going to do an inspection. I had one just a week ago where first of all, I had a big cat fight with the agent as to I said, if you're going to do the sewer scope, please bring a plumbing company. Don't have Joe, Billy, Bob inspector do it, because I've had so many problems with inspectors doing sewer scopes. And I got into a huge fight with her. She was like, wanted to draw the line in the sand about her inspector was more qualified. And I said, all right, show it to me. And she couldn't do it. So then she finally asked the buyer, and the buyer's like, yeah, fine, I'm fine with bringing in a plumbing company. So when they looked at the sewer line, the newer homes have a clean out, right? It's sort of like a pipe. So there's one pipe that goes from the plumbing out to the city main, right? But there's these clean outs now that they're putting in yards that provide the plumbing companies with access to the sewer line. And sometimes there's one, sometimes there's two. In this case, there was one, and the one pipe was fractured, not the sewer line, but the stick out or the clean out that stuck out from above. So one company's bid was between $3,600 and $4,200. And she was not happy about that. So I said, let's get a second opinion. So we brought in another plumbing company, and they looked at it. They said, there's only one clean out. That year of house, they didn't have two clean outs because of the code. And so the other guy was going to charge an extra $800 to poke holes in the yard to find the second clean out that wasn't there. Right. And so we went to the new plumbing company, and the actual cost of the repair was, instead of $4,200, was under $700. So you've got to shop around. You can't just take these requests after an inspection at face value. And that takes some time, more uncertainty with the sale. A lot of people hate showings. They hate the process of dealing with people coming through their house. They don't like the fact that sometimes the buyers may not qualify for financing, even though the lender said that they're fine. Or, I had one that, we were 3 weeks into the contract, same property twice. The buyers bailed out. Now that was a unique property. It's owned by the VA. It has lots of repairs that have to get done. The VA only offers their homes as is. But we're on our third contract on that house now, hoping this one will go through, but who knows? So that takes months and months and months to go through that. Then you got to worry about the appraisal. So if the buyer's getting a loan, there has to be a licensed third party that comes in and gives an opinion of value. And as long as it matches the sales price, you've passed one part of it. Another part of it could be if the buyer is getting a government loan like VA, FHA, or some of the other government loans, there's certain house criteria that the house has to meet in order for them to get that type of loan. So things like peeling paint on the outside, missing outlet covers, broken windows, trip hazards, fences falling down, deep window wells where kids and critters could fall in, anything that looks like a safety issue, the appraiser could mandate that it gets fixed so the buyer can get their loan. Well, the problem is the contract doesn't say who fixes it. Most of the time it lands in the seller's lap to get that done, right? So you want to make sure that your house will pass that kind of inspection before you accept a contract like that. So those are just some of the things that can introduce uncertainty into a transaction. And what if they don't get financing? What's nice about accepting an investor offer is they're almost always cash, or They are private funding where the money definitely is there. So you don't have to worry about either an appraisal or the loan going through. The only thing you have to worry about is if there's any repair issues. And some of these offers are actually pretty good. So we show up with our home sellers with a whole fistful of offers, and they can at least look at that. And if they don't want those offers right now, if they want to try the open market, that's fine. It's okay. Some of those offers are still available down the road if the normal contracting, the normal sales process doesn't work out for them. So if you are thinking of making a move and you're interested in getting cash offers on your home, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach her at 719-301-3900. And we're talking, Barb, about whether or not it's worth it to sell your home to an investor.
Well, Richard, most people assume that if an investor is buying their house, their offer is going to be super low ball, like steal half their equity. And actually, the offers that we're bringing, most of them are pretty darn close to full market value. So it's not always true. And of course, most home sellers really want the most money, but some of these investors will partner with the seller to help the seller maximize their price. And both the investor and the seller get the benefit of that. And we can sit down and explain those offers to you live in person. There's no cost or obligation, but it's a way to solve the problem without dealing with the traditional sales process. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900. Obviously, our goal is to get you the most money when you sell your home, and we have multiple options to make that happen. Richard?
Barb, you and your team are the only ones that I would recommend to people out there who are thinking of selling their homes, whether you want a cash investor, that type of an offer, or you want to live in the home and have a home buyer call at, oh gosh. Oh, I see what it is. 321. Barb, you and your team are the only company I would recommend to people out there who are thinking of selling their homes. So whether you want a cash investor, an offer like that, or live in the home and have a seller and buyer meet up through Barb, give her a call, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Time for the lightning round, your hot new listings, Barb.
All right. Well, the first one, beautiful Briargate home with an abundance of gleaming hardwood floors on 8230 Camfield Circle. Very well maintained. It actually has granite counters and stainless steel appliances, newer furnace, newer water heater, newer roof. Great location in Briargate, priced at $439,999. Really cool investment home up in the casino country of Cripple Creek, priced at $292. This is actually broken up into an Airbnb. The top is an Airbnb, the bottom is a rental, so it's an income property. We have a great home on Highway 24 in Woodland Park, priced at $299 with spectacular views. A home owned by the VA, which would be a really great investment property on 919 Rancher Drive in Fountain, priced at $342,500. We have two properties out in Rush right next to each other. One's on 2 acres, priced at $379,999. The other one's on 9 acres. Both of them back to open space, beautiful, quiet, great location, actually, if you like peace and quiet, and right down the street from some fabulous new schools. We have a great rancher on the west side on Tower Road, priced at $499,999. A beautiful home in Walking Stick in Pueblo on 9 Royal Troon, priced at $565,000. An amazing Southwest property on Beckett Drive, priced at $695,000, over 4,000 square feet. A fabulous patio home that backs to the golf course on Spanish Oak Terrace in Briargate at $735,000. A great townhome investment opportunity. What's cool about this is if you're even an investor, you can buy this home and get VA financing with only 10% down. This home is priced, they just lowered the price actually to $365,000. And then another Briargate home on Zurich Drive, 4-bedroom, 3-bath at $454,999. Fabulous 2-story over by Peterson Air Force Base in Claremont Ranch at $479,999 on Killdeer Court. Great home on Big Valley, just lowered the price to $699. This home has a fabulous detached garage, kind of man cave thing. Gorgeous home in Briargate on Coberdale Court, on a cul-de-sac, spectacular kitchen, gorgeous remodeled master bath, beautiful home, covered patio, price at $659, and then a beautiful home in Broadmoor Bluffs that backs to NORAD at $684,999. Another one on True Vista, just lowered the price at $699, over 3,000 square feet, close to County Line Road, so it's up in Monument, 20245 True Vista. Spectacular, gorgeous custom home on Open Skyway in gated High Forest Ranch at $2,095,000, and a great lot on Hidden Valley. And if you'd like to find out more, go to barbhasthebuyers.com or give us a call, 719-301-3900. Richard?
Or Real Estate Voice. It airs every weekend. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Remember, you can see replays of the show by going to barbhasthebuyers.com or YouTube, and you can listen on the podcast on all of the popular platforms like Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, many, many others. Thank you for listening. And again, to reach out to Barb, call her at 719-301-3900. Barb, a great show. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk with you next week.
Thank you. You too.